Just like there are three basic trig functions, sine, cosine, and tangent, there are three basic inverse circular functions or inverse trig functions called inverse sine, inverse cosine, and inverse tangent. You can also see them written as arc sine, arc cosine, and arc tangent. It means the exact same thing. I'm pretty sure we used the arc version of them before computers got good enough to actually do small exponents so that you didn't just look like you're doing sine minus 1, but we couldn't use that notation in a computer and a calculator. But now the computers and calculators have multiple subscripts and superscripts, so we don't really need arc sine, arc cosine, and arc tangent, but it's still the same exact thing, which is pretty cool. But if we think about the idea of an inverse function, functions only have inverses if they are one-to-one, which means they pass both the vertical line test and the horizontal line test, that all unique inputs map to unique outputs. So if we looked at the sine wave, right now I can guarantee it passes the vertical line test because it is a function, but would it pass the horizontal line test? No. So what we have to do when we're doing inverse trig functions is we have to cut off the boundary lines of the input values that we are allowed to use for these trig functions. So if we only draw the sine function between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, so only looking at that little red section right there, well, it's pink, does this now pass the horizontal line test? Yes. So what we have then learned is that for inverse sine or arc sine, we are only allowed to find values on our unit circle between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. Well, if this is 0 and this is pi over 2, negative pi over 2 would be going the other direction, which means on our unit circle, you are only going to be looking for values in these two quadrants. And in fact, you are not allowed to go all the way around the unit circle itself. You are only going to go to 90 degrees or negative 90 degrees, but not all the way around to quadrant 4. So staying only in quadrant 1 and quadrant 4, but with acute angles only, essentially. Positive acute angles or negative acute angles. So when we're doing problems with our unit circle and it's involving inverse sine, I should have brought my unit circle with me. What you can do is you can fold your unit circle to match what we just colored in on this page. Which means if you fold your unit circle along its y-axis, where only quadrant 1 and quadrant 4 are showing, this is all you're allowed to use to answer questions about inverse sine or arc sine. Does that make sense? So inverse sine, you fold it in half and you only look at quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. You're not allowed to go over here, so just hide it away. Okay, let's do the same concept for cosine. Cosine and arc cosine are the same thing. Clearly, the function itself doesn't pass the horizontal line test. So in its current state, it is not one-to-one, and it does not have an inverse. But if we chop off the graph so that only we are looking at the graph from 0 to pi, that little blue section does pass the horizontal line test. It does have unique input and unique output values, which means that little section is all that is allowed to be used when we're doing the inverse cosine. So if we translate that to your unit circle, if I'm going from 0 to pi, what two quadrants are being used from 0 to pi? Quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. So these are the only quadrants I'm allowed to use for angles in my unit circle. So I would fold my unit circle differently. How am I folding it this time? Yeah, hide the bottom, basically. So you're folding it along the x-axis to where you only see quadrant 1 and 2, and that is where you're allowed to look for answers for inverse sine functions. Quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. Last but not least, we do the same vibe for inverse tangent or arctangent. This is what tangent looks like back from chapter 4. And it passes the vertical line test, but it does not pass the horizontal line test. So in its current state, it is not one-to-one. But if we take just one of those like extended S's, just that one would pass the horizontal line test. So just that one little section bounded between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2 exclusive, not including those because those are vertical asymptotes, we can find arc tangent. We can find inverse tangent. Now that again is between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2. So which two quadrants should I highlight on my unit circle? Yeah, the right side. And just quadrant 1 between 0 and pi over 2. And then quadrant 4 between negative pi over 2 and 0. So sine and tangent, you fold the unit circle the same way. I only want to look at the right two quadrants for sine and tangent inverse, but I only look at the top two quadrants for cosine inverse. Now remember, since this again is an inverse function, the inputs and outputs have switched directions. So normally when we look at this unit circle, we're like, sine of 45, because I look at the angle, that's the input, and then we look at the output of the coordinate, and we're like, yeah, it's square root 2 over 2. Good to go. In inverse, we're working the opposite way. So inside these inverse functions are the values from the outside of your unit circle. And we're going to be answering the questions of what angle gives you that value when you see arc sine, arc cosine, and arc tangent. So if I were asking you first, what is the arc sine of 1/2? So I would look at my unit circle in only which two quadrants for arc sine? The right two. So I'm folding my unit circle so I only see the right two. I need the sine value to be positive 1/2. That only occurs one time. What angle is that? Pi over 6 or 30 degrees, depending on how you're measuring your angles. There is not a second answer this time. When we were doing these problems last class when we were solving regular trig functions, most of the time you answered with two angles because there was another angle in another quadrant that was positive 1/2, but we're not allowed to use that quadrant anymore. So we're only answering with one thing. Can we try another one? What is inverse sine of -1? So again, we're looking just in these two quadrants for -1. (270 degrees, which is 3 pi over 2. You're looking in the correct spot, but that is not the correct answer. Negative pi over 2. Here's the deal. Remember, we're not allowed to use the back two quadrants right now. And to get to 3 pi over 2, I'd be going through those quadrants to get there. You're not allowed to do that anymore. So instead of doing this, to get to 3 pi over 2, the only way to get down here is to go negative pi over 2. So negative pi over 2 is the answer, or if you're using degrees, negative 90 degrees. That's a confusing moment when we're getting into quadrant 4 with sine and eventually tangent. You can't actually just read the unit circle. You have to think about the coterminal angle in the negative direction. All right, what about inverse sine of -2? Can sine ever be equal to -2? No. So inverse sine of -2 is not defined. So we'd say there's no solution. We could use the empty set symbol for that. Are we ready to try some cosines? Okay. What is the inverse cosine of 1/2? First of all, we're switching to cosine, so how do I fold my circle differently? We're using the top two quadrants now. So if I'm only looking at the top two quadrants, this actually gets a lot easier because I don't have to think about the negative concept of coterminal angles. Where is cosine equal to 1/2 in those top two angles? Those top two quadrants. Pi over 3 or 60 degrees, depending on how we're measuring our angles. What about inverse cosine of -1? it would just be pi, or what's the degrees for that? 180. What about inverse cosine of negative square root 2 over 2? $135. Am I allowed to go in quadrant 2 for this function? Yes. So we don't have to do the weird negative thing. We would do 3 pi over 4, or, yes, 135 degrees. So cosine actually ends up being the easiest version because you don't have to think about making negative angles. All right, for tangent. First question, what is the arctan of 0? So this time I'm thinking, what angle will give me 0 if I'm doing tangent of that angle? 0 degrees or 0 radians. So yes, 0 radians or 0 degrees. By the way, I'm holding my unit circle incorrectly. How should I change it if I'm doing inverse tangent? On the right side only, so I can refold it, boom, over here. Great, let's try another one. What is the inverse tangent of 1? Pi over 4, very good, or 45 degrees. And then our last one is inverse tangent of negative square root 3 over 3. So if I'm doing this one, I like flip my, I'm looking at the inside because that's where we put tangents on the back. Square root 3 over 3 is tangent pi over 6, so that's my blue angles. And if I flip it back over here, I want the negative version of that. So it won't be pi over 6. What would it be? Negative pi over 6. Nice. So negative pi over 6 or negative 30 degrees. Because it's still that blue angle, it just needs to be the negative version of that. Do we see how to read the unit circle? The main idea here is you've been answering these kinds of questions before because I've been having you solve trig functions. But this time, if it's actually an inverse function, it has boundaries to it, and we're only allowed to use the answers in particular quadrants. So to practice, when you guys walked in, you got this maze. It's the same kind of questions that we just did in our notes here, where I want you to use your unit circle to see if you can answer these questions. Pretty sure they're all in radians, just FYI, but you could, in this class, be either using radians or degrees, but I think this worksheet is all radians. So I want you to just, we'll probably do this until lunch. Let's see if we can get through the maze.